Hey there, everyone. I'm meteorologist Cassie Nall, and this is your 10 Weather Impact Recap for the week. Let's start with a look at some of our top weather stories. In South America, a 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck Colombia early Monday morning. Multi-story buildings were reduced to rubble, and emergency workers have been working around the clock to rescue survivors in the debris. While Colombia is no stranger to earthquakes, Monday's tremor was the strongest to impact the country in a decade. And that earthquake registered on seismographs here in East Tennessee. Check out this chart from Greenback. The earthquake happened at 8:34 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in Colombia, and the energy waves reached East Tennessee about 6 minutes later. You can see those large squiggles right there on the blue line indicating all that shaking. And the tremors actually continued to register for more than 30 minutes as those energy waves moved around the earth. Scientists want people in California to be ready before an earthquake happens. They say it's not a question of if the state will be hit by the big one, but when. Experts say California is due for a large earthquake as pressure continues to build along the fault lines. No one can predict when that will happen, but as Maribel Gonzalez explains, it's always a good idea to be prepared.
It is the longest fault in California and therefore capable of the biggest earthquakes.
This simulation depicts Southern California's worst-case earthquake, a massive magnitude 7.8 rupture along the San Andreas Fault, nearly 2 minutes of shaking. Experts say hundreds could die, along with billions of dollars in damage. Seismologist Dr. Lucy Jones helped develop this scientific scenario in 2008.
We know how it'll happen. We know what the shaking will be, and that's what these models showing that if we run these, this is the best science put together. There were 2 minutes into the earthquake, and we're still having really strong shaking in downtown.
This simulated earthquake rivals the powerful quake that struck Venezuela in June, highlighting their devastating impact.
It's the same type of what's called a transform fault. It began west of Caracas and then ruptured towards Caracas, and therefore helping focus energy into the heavily populated areas. We think that'll happen here as well.
The problem is, unlike a weather event, an earthquake remains unpredictable.
It could go another 100 years. It could be tomorrow. It could be, next minute.
But a new study warns the risk of a significant earthquake in California could be greater than previously believed, with even more widespread damage.
What we've found now is that, we haven't had an earthquake in Southern California since 1857, so stresses are naturally high, and they're actually, in some places, the highest that we've seen in all of these 1,000 years.
Researchers say a significant earthquake at Cajon Pass, where the San Andreas and San Jacinto faults meet, could cripple infrastructure across several cities.
Aqueducts actually cross the San Andreas fault, and if something happens, you might not have water for a while.
California has long braced for the impact, implementing mandatory retrofits of buildings and updates to building codes. But Dr. Jones is concerned that may not be enough.
We underestimate the social disruption and the economic disruption. We are so focused on our fear of dying that we forget to be afraid of being bankrupted.
For now, experts urge being prepared, retrofitting your own home.
Then when you push sideways, it can come right down. Right now, I'm just going to go in and put on some extra shear wall. Now, when I push sideways, it doesn't go down, it doesn't collapse.
Storing emergency supplies and having a communication plan in the event of a disaster is key. And when the big one strikes,
if you use those few seconds to get under a strong table, you now can at least get dug back out. We say drop, cover, hold on, and it really is the safest thing to do.
I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
Puerto Rico is in the midst of a severe water crisis due to historic drought. And now, taps are being shut off as part of the territory's drastic water rationing measures. Hundreds of thousands of residents have to go without water for up to 48 hours at a time under a government plan to conserve. 7 municipalities, including San Juan, are served by the same reservoir, which authorities say is at critically low levels. The rationing is expected to last through at least the end of August. Last month, San Juan experienced its driest July on record, and nearly 68% of the island is now dealing with drought conditions. And in the western U.S., Lake Mead has fallen to the lowest level on record, driving deeper concerns about the Colorado River water crisis. Experts blame years of heavy demand, persistent drought, and a changing climate with hotter and drier conditions. And the record low snowpack this winter did not help either. The 7 states that rely on the Colorado River for their water supply have yet to reach a long-term deal on how to share the declining resource. The dry conditions are helping to fuel hundreds of large wildfires across the West, including near Spokane, Washington. Thousands of evacuees are allowed to go back to their homes to begin the recovery process after 3 separate fires burned portions of the community. More than 900 structures were lost to the flames, but thankfully no injuries or deaths have been reported. The governor of Washington says this is one of the worst fire seasons in history for that part of the state.
For this community, undoubtedly this will have to go down as one of the greatest tragedies in Spokane's history. There's no two ways around that. And I think for this part of our state, zooming out, it is going to unfortunately potentially be, our most disastrous fire season of all.
Just over the border in Canada, more than 20,000 people have been forced to evacuate as wildfires spread across British Columbia. The province declared a state of emergency over the weekend as fast-moving wildfires destroyed homes, with some people even having to be rescued by aircraft. Canada's premier says there has been significant structure loss, but could not assess that damage due to the active fire zone. In Colorado, the Aspen Acres fire spans nearly 102,000 acres, but is now more than 70% contained as of Monday. Now, heavy rain in areas scarred by the fire is bringing the risk of flooding. Burn scars act like runways for water to flow down scorched hillsides, collecting mud and debris as it goes. Residents in one tight-knit community are worried that they don't have enough resources to protect their homes. Damian Bartnick shares the story.
We just need a lot of help that's bigger than what our locals have to offer.
With the community of Beulah continuing to rally after the Aspen Acres fire, their focus now turning to the flooding threat left behind by the burn scar.
A lot of our community coming together to try to do what we can for one another, lending tools to those who have lost everything, filling sandbags to try to help protect our buildings, just trying to figure out what's next and what our new normal is.
With rainfall hitting the region over the past 2 weeks and more moisture expected in the coming days, residents say sandbags can only do so much. They say they need more resources, including concrete barriers and heavy equipment to help slow the water and protect homes, roads, and life.
It's a matter of life or death to a lot of people up here, especially a lot of the elders that live up here that really have no way to get in and out.
Right now, the town is full of sandbags to help combat flooding in the area. And throughout these tough times, they say the heart of Beulah has shined in the midst of destruction. But Murray says they haven't walked through it alone.
The way that the communities come together and how strong the community has been together, Beulah's strong. There's no other way to say it.
Cancel says they're hoping the resources they need will come. But whatever happens next, they say they'll continue to lean on each other, just as they have since the Aspen Acres fire.
What's came out of this for us is we have met some of the most generous, beautiful people ever. Neighbors, new friends, new family members. Even though we're surrounded by destruction, the love that we found and feel every day is amazing.
More than 100 million people across the Midwest and the southeastern U.S. are dealing with drought conditions that are threatening crops and livestock. Now, the typical response to drought is reactive, happening after the dry conditions have already taken hold. But one Virginia Tech researcher says artificial intelligence could help officials to be more proactive if the models have enough data to work with. Jack Doherty has the details.
Wildfires, water shortages, and agricultural complications are often the result of droughts. And by the time a coming drought is identified, it can be too late to prepare.
In the last couple of decades, one of our concerns with drought is that we enter drought more rapidly than we used to. We've seen this recently with like Smith Mountain lake levels really dropping, right? Because the atmosphere is really thirsty and we're not replenishing with much rain, so it just draws that into the atmosphere through evaporation.
But emerging technologies could help identify the signs of incoming weather events.
We're collecting more weather and climate data than we ever have before, and so the AI can start to learn complex patterns that maybe we haven't been able to detect in the past. And the more times we feed the AI models with examples of what produced a drought, the better it'll get at saying, hey, 3 weeks from now, a similar pattern looks like it's setting up.
Still, there are gaps in data collection both domestically and internationally.
That leads to uncertainty in our models, whether that be AI or a traditional physics-based model. So if you're mad at Edward Shaw at WSLS because the snowfall forecast didn't pan out, the real issue actually is the data we had to put into the model. All of it influences our weather, and so AI or not, we need more data to improve your forecasts.
A 13-year-old Minnesota student is earning national recognition for an invention that could make produce safer to eat. She's one of 10 finalists in a Young Scientist competition. Derek James shows us her project that aims to make fruits and vegetables safer to eat.
This is the moment that 13-year-old Erika Kundu has worked so hard for.
Every day I wake up and I'm like, whoa, I'm a top 10 finalist.
She's a top 10 finalist for the 3M Young Scientist Challenge. It's a nationwide competition that gives middle schoolers the chance to change their world for the better.
So this is where I do most of the experimentation.
In her garage laboratory, Erika is working to solve a major global health problem: pesticides.
We're chronically being exposed to these pesticides, and as they build up in our body, they can cause these horrible health effects like cancers and neurological damage.
Her solution? Peanut shells.
I had been looking at some research papers which were showing that peanut shells can remove toxins, and I had also at the same time been seeing that there were pesticides all around us. And so I wanted to utilize this agricultural byproduct that's normally wasted that can be used to solve these problems in everyone's daily lives.
And so she invented Lignex, a small peanut shell-based tablet.
So you put it in the water where your food is, and it'll release some cleaning agents and remove the pesticides from the food, and then reabsorb those so the pesticides don't go down the drain, and now you have clean, pesticide-free food.
It took the better part of a year for Erika to develop Lignex.
There really wasn't anything on the market that in a sustainable way could remove those pesticides right when you eat them.
And now she's on the verge of something big.
It was just so exciting, and it's still super fun every day this summer working on Lignex. It would mean a lot being like America's top young scientist.
A dream of making a difference with a bright future ahead of her.
I'm top 10 in the country. I'm planning a career in astrobiology, and I want to help people on Earth with stuff that we can discover from other universes and other worlds.
She's so cool. The finalists will present their projects to judges in October. Until that time, Erika is keeping hard at work to refine her invention with help from a 3M mentor. And now let's get a check of your 7-day forecast. We keep the daily rain chances around into at least the first half of the weekend. Then it looks like a big ridge of high pressure builds in and really cranks up the heat. Those highs are going to get into the low to mid 90s by the time we finish out the weekend and go into early next week. Summer isn't done yet, and the heat humidity is expected to continue at least into the early to middle parts of next week. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can get the latest forecast and watch our 24/7 live radar anytime with the WBIR app. It's free to download in the App Store, so you can watch for free on your TV.